Capwolf and the Howling Commandos #2, written by Stephanie Phillips, art by Carlos Magno, colors by Espen Gruden, letters by VC's Travis Lanham. I asked you to join me on this one. You didn't review the first issue with me. You did not miss much. I know that it was one of those plays where I wasn't angry about it. It's just you didn't get any bit of Capwolf until pretty much the last page or two. And that's kind of a weird play to go into something that is a big deal, not a big deal, but a fun thing. Capwolf. You want Capwolf. You get Capwolf here in the second issue. He doesn't do much. This issue is another one that just kind of stands around and talks with each other, but also starts out on the Nazi side of things. And while that's kind of I don't want to say anything Nazi is kind of cool, but in the book, it's a cool play of the occult. It's the stuff that you'll get a lot of times with Nazis in movies, say an Indiana Jones thing, or even in comics like this. But then by the end, I still sit there and say, I kind of want more Capwolf. And what is this all about? What are you going to do with Capwolf? Really, it looks like you're just setting up a bunch of fights with Nazi wolves. And I mean, you going into this issue, what did you think?
First of all, I must admit, I do like the art style. I think it suits the horror comic for it. But Jim, I thought this was just like a one-off. The first issue was a Halloween special, something like that, which it would suit, wouldn't it?
I think it should have been. I think that this could have been slightly oversized, tell a cool story. You get the Howling Commandos, you get Dum Dum and the rest where they're going to want to, oh my God, Cap's a werewolf. Let's end up killing him. Oh no, it's still Cap underneath. Oh, crazy. Let's go forward. Let's have some fun. Let's do some things with it. But at the whole play, all you're doing right now is, all right, Cap's going to fight a bunch of Nazi werewolves. You get this mystical, crazy woman in the background. You get your doctor who's not quite into this. But at the end, all you're going to end up doing is trying to find the cure for Cap. And it will probably be in that Nazi base. Now, the whole thing was set up where, okay, there's this Nazi outpost. Things are weird there. Some crazy stuff's happening. Oh, my God, the Nazis and the occult. Let's go. There's werewolves. And the werewolves attack in that first issue. They're able to be fought off, but they turn Cap into a werewolf. In this, then you start off with the Nazis then saying, you know what we should do? We should make more werewolves. And it goes for page after page where, yeah, there's a little dissent. The doctor's yelling about this. You have the evil Nazi commander. You end up having this mystical woman who shows up that looks pretty cool, pretty sexy, I'd say.
She is. Her name's Ross as well, Jim. Ross, and she's the reason the moon is listening, apparently.
Yeah, the moon. So there's a lot of ways that Stephanie Phillips is going to try to, I don't know, she's trying to get a little more in depth in parts where you don't really need to. And it's trying to get fancy, and it doesn't work out. Really, all we're here for is Capwolf. Let's see him do things. I was expecting at some point to have Capwolf punch Hitler in the face. Fun things like that. But we'll see. But you end up, have some fun with it. And that's one of the big plays, I think, by the end of this. It's not that fun. By the end of reading it, I didn't think that it was that exciting or fun. That's what I kind of want from a Capwolf book. But she's trying to get a little bit of character work, but some of it's on the Nazi side.
She's trying to set them up, isn't she? At the beginning, because Cap doesn't come into it, like you were saying, until the 8th page, Jim. And again, nothing really happens, does it?
No,
really.
Because at the end of the first issue, oh my God, Capwolf, kill me, Dum Dum, kill me. And you kind of go with that. Now, you had set up that Dum Dum and the Howling Commandos, they were kind of pissed off that Cap was even involved. Hey, we're Fury's guys. You're just a person who sells war bonds. We don't trust you. We don't really. And now it's like he's a werewolf and they don't want to kill him. Some of them are like, oh my God, he's a werewolf. Kill him.
No way. Were they dissing Cap in the first issue? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Just full out. We don't need him. And I'll tell you too, where you have this, of course, Dum Dum's there. Big guy. He's the guy that we're going to center on. But the rest of the Howling Commandos just become just like an amalgamous blob of people. You don't really get much of the, hey, that guy stuck out, or I like that guy. It's just Dum Dum and the rest. So when he's there and he's like, I'm going to kill Cap, but then he can't. He says, I can't kill Cap. He's Cap. Cap starts yelling, come on, do it, Dum Dum. And then you end up Dum Dum punches Capwolf. But all this is right there in the woods where they were at the last issue. Not much else is happening here. So while that's going on, suddenly a woman shows up and she shoots Cap, doesn't kill him, and she's like, hey, everybody get back. I'll take care of this stinking werewolf. I like the idea that they have to tell her, listen, that's Captain America. What does she think? That he's just a werewolf that's cosplaying as Captain America?
What is he wearing? Yeah.
And you're like, oh, man, and she's part of the French Resistance. You get mention of, who do you think you are, John Wayne? There's so many things that are just kind of like really generic. They're just thrown in. Oh, we have the occult Nazis making werewolves. We end up having a girl out of nowhere comes out, part of the French Resistance. You end up having Capwolf. Yeah, but nothing really happens. The idea that she is actually like taken aback. Oh my God, you can talk? I'm not used to these werewolves talking. Now, how long have the Nazis been making these werewolves? It seemed like a new thing, but she seems to be quite, French Resistance werewolf hunter. And so you end up where Cap can talk. I thought this in the first issue. It's just explained because of the super soldier serum. It is able to fight off the Wolfman enough for him to talk, but not enough for him to actually just, not be a Wolfman. Also, I kept thinking of the idea of like, just delay this. Cap is not attacking anybody at this point. You just have to wait till the moon goes away.
Yeah,
and then he's Cap, and then figure things out, right? But they're just standing around yelling at each other. And you end up where, oh no, this lady who suddenly shows up, Frankie. Oh man, you're Frankie, the spy the general told me about. Like everything's too much of a coincidence. But you end up where at the end, they have to figure out what they're going to do. They have to take down that Nazi outpost that you started off last issue kind of setting up that they had to do anyway. So reaffirm that because they think that there's going to be werewolves. And in fact, the Nazis have made everybody into werewolves, and they end up at the end saying, go and kill Captain America. I'm like, what's going on here? Because one guy did get back to the base like, oh my God, Captain America was there, all this. I would think that at a point, you would maybe try to grab Captain America if you are the Nazis and maybe think that you could end up kind of having Captain America as a werewolf on your side now. And that would be a crazy deal. But after 2 issues, this just feels like a weird, unnecessary book. I know that it is kind of a wacky deal, but maybe this should have been a what if Cap became Capwolf again, or you said, a oversized one-shot deal that was just for the, the Halloween season, because this is going to keep going. And I don't know how much I'm going to be into this in, say, January. Or, we're going to end up going a little bit in this mini-series here, but there's really not anything. I hate to use the puns, but there's not much to sink your teeth into here because it's just, hey, like you get this elevator pitch, Capwolf, right? Okay, people think that that's cool. That seems like pretty exciting. So what do you go from there? Capwolf. That's it. They're going to stand around and yell about Capwolf, and the Nazis are going to make werewolves. It's just not enough. But the art's great. The art, I think, is even better in this issue, and I like last issue's art. This issue, it really plays up that horror. It even has like an old school type deal to it.
And it does.
I thought it was really, really good. But all you need to know, if you haven't read it yet, 2 issues, Cap is a werewolf, and the Nazis are making werewolves, and they're going to fight eventually. But before that, they're going to talk. They're going to do a lot of talking about things that really don't matter. There you go.
I tell you what, Jim. Do you get the impression that they're right? It's Stephanie Phillips, isn't it? I think she cares a lot more about this gothic witch character.
Yeah, I think
she's spending more time developing her, isn't she?
And an interesting look, like we said.
I do like
maybe
it.
An interesting character, but I don't know quite that a Capwolf book is going to end up being able to let you introduce a character that might continue on later. You know what I mean? And so I think that what I get from this, and a lot of times I talk about this even on the Comics Aficionados when I'm on there at points, the idea that nowadays there doesn't seem to be a lot of people pitching books. There's a lot of editors asking people to do a book that the concept's out there, and then because it doesn't feel like there's much of a story here, this doesn't feel like a passion project that Stephanie Phillips always had a Capwolf story that she needed to tell. This feels like somebody said, hey, do you want to do a Capwolf book? Why not? And then you're kind of coming up with a story retroactive. It just doesn't feel like it's that inspired or has much behind it. But if you enjoy looking at Cap, even then, there's not really that many like, oh my God, this should have at least a huge spread page and then also like 3 parts that are wow moments. You got Capwolf. Where are the wow moments? Where, at least in the art of one page where I'm like, oh my God, I could end up getting that signed at a convention. It's so cool. You don't even really get that. So I think it's a misplay. But what would you give this?
It's a tricky one to call, thinking about the Blade issue. I'm going to give this a 5.5 out of 10, Jim.
Yeah, I think I'm a 5.5 as well. Maybe we'll keep doing this. This is one of those that now after 2 issues, I kind of get the lay of the land. I kind of realize there might not be much to it. Again, the only actual interesting character, like you said, is the woman that shows up. And without her, I mean, you have nothing. And even she isn't that much, but, you have her licking blood off a knife, sexy stuff like that.
That's the best scene in the book, isn't it?
She's going to end up getting hepatitis, then what happens? I mean, seriously, I wouldn't want to be licking knives with crazy wolfmen around, but you get that. But yeah, a little bit of a downer.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.